Jeff Marek is the host of The Sheet here on the Nation Network, noon Pacific time. He joins us Fridays usually. How are you? He's in Buffalo at the Combine.
I'm in Buffalo at the scouting combine, making sure my phone works properly here. How you doing, guys? So my tastefully decorated hotel room here.
Is that the Hyatt? Where are you?
Yes, Hyatt.
Yes,
yeah.
it's always the Hyatt.
That looked like the Hyatt.
It's Hyatt
in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yes. Blake and I did a week of shows from the Hyatt in Buffalo at the draft once upon a time.
It's close.
It's the Hyatt. It's still here.
Yeah. Hey, this week it's come to light that the Canucks still have interest in Bowen Byram. Cranbrook's Bowen Byram of the Buffalo Sabres there in town. And, I think it's a bit of a surprise just because, you know, we thought after they did Marcus Pettersson, acquired him, and then saw the emergence of Victor Mancini, and then got Tom Wielander, the draft pick signed, and then Forbert this week, we thought, okay, looks pretty set on defense, but apparently still interested on Bowen Byram. And Blake yesterday was talking with Patrick Johnson about, would it be a decent plan to just go out, get Byram, get some Quinn Hughes insurance in case this is his final year, and just try and build the best defense core in the National Hockey League and hope goals come from defensemen transporting the puck efficiently? Well, what says he? What do you think?
I'm very much of the mind. Let me put it this way. Finish this sentence for me. You can never have enough blank.
Money.
Well, that too.
Okay.
Yes. Well, there's actually a few things, but for the purposes of team building, you can never have enough defensemen.
Yep.
Right, and you can never have enough options. Listen, the interest in Bo Byram goes back years, goes back to when he was a member of the Colorado Avalanche. So this should come as a surprise to nobody. From the Buffalo Sabres point of view, I mean, we wonder about JJ Peterka. We wonder about Bo Byram for a couple of reasons. One, I think if it gets there, he'll just kill them in arbitration. Two, there is a feeling in Buffalo that this blue line is too young. And this blue line needs more veteran defenders on it. And I think when you couple those things together, you say to yourself, okay, they're probably looking then to move Bo Byram somewhere. His name's been out there for a reason. And I think if I'm Vancouver, even though there has been concussion history before, been some injury history there before. I think you still have a look at just what you were talking about, Maddie, like having a look at some Quinn Hughes insurance and also getting a top 4 defender. That'll give you a number of options for the remainder of the season and probably, I give you the benefit of not having to rush anybody into service before they're ready for it. To me, this one makes a lot of sense. And it's not just, bring the local boy home story.
It's an expensive blue line if they were to go down this route because, as you've mentioned, they're going to have to pay him, and they've already got an $8 million guy in Hughes, effectively 7.2 in Roenick, and Pettersson's making 5.5. So, you add in a Byram at what, 6, 7, something like that, and it starts to get really expensive. Do you have a conscious picture in your mind of how he plays on the right side, on his offside?
I think he's equally adept at playing both. Right. I mean, this is a guy whose bailiwick is skating and moving the puck. I know when you play, I know the coaches are particularly sensitive, especially in the generation now with the forecheck being as quick as it is. If you're playing on your offside coming around the net, even that split second can make all the difference between an efficient first pass and a turnover right around your net. But I mean, I think we've seen Byram, adept at playing both sides here. I don't, when it comes to someone like him, I don't say, that's going to be an issue.
And for a guy thinking offense,
can skate like that.
And for a guy thinking offense too, we know, of course, coming off your offside is nice if you are at all offensive. So
sticks in the middle, right? And always in a shooter's position. Always in a shooter's position. Absolutely.
Elias Pettersson and Thatcher Demko for Bowen Byram and JJ Peterka.
There we go. Hockey's
Elias or Elias?
Elias Pettersson.
Oh boy.
Thatcher Demko.
Oh boy.
Bo Byram and JJ Peterka.
No, it's just Elias Pettersson for JJ Peterka and Bowen Byram.
What?
Here's my...
You keep telling me that his value is so low.
Elias and Elias is actually the one I had jumped up. Elias and Elias both for Peterka and Byram.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Okay. And there's smoke around Demko, too. Maybe they're looking to move, which I got to say is quite surprising because I thought they were committed to two goaltenders. Lankinen and Demko go forward, but Sheloffs is doing very well here in the AHL.
There's one team that I'm very curious about for goaltenders right now, and that's Utah. Like, we're wondering about Utah making big swings in the offseason with free agents and maybe trades, and maybe even with that 4th overall pick in the draft. They have 4 or 5 first rounders still not in the lineup. Will that make them more amenable to moving down, maybe even just trading the pick altogether? But I do know that Utah is looking to do something at the goaltending position. That would be the first name that would pop out to me of teams that are ready to take that next step and could be interested if Vancouver is going to go down the trade route with Thatcher Demko.
Yeah.
Correction for myself. I was Elias and Elias for Norris and Byram. But I digress.
You go ahead and work that out.
Yeah. I already had
and then
stuff.
you can join the chat.
I was going to drop it earlier.
He's struggling today, Jeff.
I am.
Not sure
My brain
if you
is
heard that BZ4X read.
Not firing.
Listen, it's like I always say about myself with my talk radio shows. 3 days a week, it's the old Dan Carlin line. 3 days a week, I'm an excellent host. Problem is, I'm on 5.
What do you make of
bookend days are tough?
What do you make of these marketing snafus where star players are left out? It happens in a lot of the markets. Vancouver seems particularly sensitive to this. This is not the first time we've said, "Hey, so and so's not on the poster." Does that mean they're being traded? No Demko, no Pettersson on the season ticket poster that was just released, and guys like Kiefer Sherwood are. Do you make anything of it?
I don't know. Sometimes it is sometimes I've heard I'll tell you what, I remember, who was it? It was Marty McSorley told me when he was doing color for radio for the San Jose Sharks, there was one player that Doug Wilson, I can't remember who the player was, that they were looking to trade. And so they said, they told Marty, no matter what happens with this player in this game, don't say his name. He can score. He could break Daryl Sittler's record of 10 points, and do not under any circumstance.
Sharks score again.
Say that. Look at San Jose. Look at that pass. So sometimes there's something deliberate about it. Sometimes it's the marriage of hockey ops saying to the marketing side of the group, we're not sure what's going to happen here. Let's just hedge our bets, because the worst thing you would have out there, you have the picture of someone's face on a ticket on December 10th and they get moved on July 27th. It makes things tricky. Sometimes there's something to it. Sometimes there isn't. I tend to not read too much into it, other than maybe they're just covering their bases here just in case.
Yeah. Well, we know for sure that Pete DeBoer will not be coaching the Dallas Stars. The announcement comes down this morning, and you say this goes deeper. You were telling us this goes deeper than just
I don't think
pulling Ottinger in Game 5 and what
it's
he
not
said.
Just that. No, it's not just that. I don't think that. Put it this way: I don't think that Jim Nill is that frivolous about how he runs the Dallas Stars. I don't think Jim Nill would say, "Oh, everything was fine with Peter DeBoer here," and then he pulled that stunt with the goaltender. Well, we won't stand for that here in Dallas. I don't think that Nill is that frivolous. This is put it this way: even though getting to the conference final is a major achievement, it's not a major achievement for the Dallas Stars anymore. And it's not a major achievement for Tom Ghilardi. They are at the, how should I phrase this? They're at the, you look at the last 2 Stanley Cup champions, right? The Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. That's where they're at. They're at the ruthless stage right now, where Western Conference Championship is not enough. The goal is Stanley Cup. This is, as I've said before, they are now entering the ruthless stage of their Stanley Cup pursuit, right? This is the Florida Panthers trade Jonathan Huberdeau off a 115-point season in order to take that next step, because that's what the manager believes is going to get him there. This is Kelly McCrimmon doing whatever it takes, no matter, remove emotions and feelings from all of this. We're doing what it's going to take to win the Stanley Cup. No one's here to collect up Christmas cards. We're here for one thing and one thing only. And if Jim Nill believes that Pete DeBoer is the guy to get him there, he would still be the coach. But I think the benefit of the doubt now is not being granted to anybody in this organization. I think this is going to be an absolutely wild summer with the Dallas Stars. In my blog this week, and we got picked up in a lot of places, I really do wonder about someone like I wonder about someone like Jason Robertson. Like, I think right now there's a lot of things that are on the table, things that normally you'd look at and say, how can Dallas even be entertaining this idea? But make no mistake about it. When you think about Dallas right now, think of one thing: ruthless pursuit of the Stanley Cup. That's it. Western Conference Final, not good enough. That's why you saw the decision made this morning on Pete DeBoer.
Who's going to be the next coach? Because there's been a lot of the coach shuffle already. Like, they're left now with the scraps in a lot of cases. So they're either going to be really innovative and hand all that expectation that you just talked about to somebody relatively inexperienced, or they go cagey old guy and Pete Laviolette.
Or they promote from within. Yeah.
Or they promote from within. Like, Neil Graham's done a great job. I threw this in the blog this week too. I think that they want Neil Graham on the bench in some capacity. I'm not saying that Neil Graham, for your viewers and listeners, he's the head coach of the Texas Stars.
We know him now because
you know him now.
Baby necks are facing
Abbotsford's handing it to him right now. So I think that Dallas understands that if they don't do something with Neil Graham now, there's enough noise around him that some other team will eventually. So I think they want to be proactive there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Neil Graham, in some capacity, again, I'm not saying head coach, but is on the bench in some capacity here with the Dallas Stars. Look, all the usual suspects' names have popped up. Peter Laviolette, to your point, that name has popped up. Once upon a time, Jim Nill was this close to hiring Gerard Gallant as his head coach, and that association stretches back to the Detroit Red Wings days. I wonder about Jay Woodcroft as well, who's still out there. Here's another name that I'll give you, and that's Dallas Eakins. And we've talked about him before.
Yeah.
There's someone that's quite well known, certainly the Tom Ghilardi. So I wonder if Dallas Eakins is in this. And then I think there's going to be some other names that pop up. Like the one that I just, was having a conversation with someone about, considering there are so many Finnish players on this team. And we made a lot about the Finnish five and the starting lineup, and it was a great historic moment for the NHL. I wonder about someone like Jussi Ahokas, who's a Finnish-born coach who coaches the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL. Rich Peverly, who's with the Dallas Stars player development, he lives in Kitchener and would know and would have seen Jussi Ahokas for a couple of seasons do some, really good work with the Kitchener Rangers team, and Ahokas is, coach of the year, etc. There's one other name that. It's funny because I thought when I first heard it, I thought, okay, well, it won't have any consideration. But then I sort of called around and, it's like, well, this guy would get consideration here. And that's Gardner McDougall.
Huh.
Gardner McDougall, Moncton Wildcats, Gardner McDougall, UNB Reds. If you believe that things have been too tense on that bench, if you think that things have been too tight on that bench.
You think Pete DeBoer is guilty of that? He seems loosey-goosey.
Is a very serious coach who demands a lot from his assistants and demands a lot from his players and demands a lot from everyone around him.
I need a vacation from Pete DeBoer, and I live in Vancouver on a podcast.
So if you want, I don't know, if you want to turn the temperature down a little bit, would Gardner McDougall's name be interesting for people out there?
I'm just glad you didn't name check Manny Malhotra, because we're sitting here wondering, the longer the Abbotsford Canucks go,
I know.
Did Vancouver choose the wrong guy, or B, is someone going to come and poach Manny Malhotra from this organization?
I think there'll be a lot. Like, I think, does Mitch Love's name now sort of re-enter? Maybe even someone who was there as an assistant before, and Todd Nelson, who for the first time, doesn't make it to the Calder Cup championship here. And does Todd Nelson re-enter that mix? Yeah. So I think there's still a fair amount, to say nothing of the list of college coaches. the Pat Ferschweilers and the David Carls of the world that are very much out there. So I think there'll be still a laundry list here. And for Dallas, you don't have to name someone tomorrow. We're in June. Jim Nill has some time here.
We talked about this earlier in the week with Cam Robinson, but you wanted to get in on this too, and that is the exodus from the Western Hockey League, where the Victoria Royals have seen Cole Reshny, who will be a first-round pick this year, and Keaton Verhoff, who will be a first-round pick next year. Leave for the University of North Dakota. I don't know if it's done yet, but there's rumors about Jackson Smith, who will be a first-round pick this year, off to Penn State University, and now
not done yet. But yes,
and now Caden Lindstrom, the fourth overall pick last year to Columbus, missed most of this year with injury. Big forward with the Medicine Hat Tigers. He's going to Michigan State. Wow, that is a lot of talent and a lot of high-end talent that is leaving this league.
You're leaving a name out there.
Oh, who?
Gavin McKenna, we're all wondering about.
Yeah, well, I've seen rumors there, but the other stuff seems a little more real or done.
The other stuff, I think that McKenna is taking his time. The names that are the colleges that have been attached there are Michigan State, and Penn State, but we'll see what happens there. Like I said, the OHL are losing players as well. Jack Ivankovic and Malcolm Spence, off to Michigan. Luke Misa ends up at Penn State. Like, there's no shortage in the Western League. You just saw, Justin Poirier, he's gone. We wonder about Justin Carbonneau of Blainville, Boisbriand. Does he end up with like Boston College or something like that? But I know it does seem a lot in the Western League, and it is. Make no mistake about it. I think there's a few things that are motivating players here to make this decision from all three leagues and not just the Western League. One, let's be blunt, it's the shiny new toy. That's the beginning. Oh, this is something new, because again, we don't know how this is all going to end up. And I had Dan McKenzie, the president of the CHL, on last week, and he said, like, look, this is year one of this new model. So we're not going to know what this is going to be consistently for a couple of years, and I think that's true. But there's a few reasons. One, facilities are a lot better. Resources, support, all of that. It is incredible. Like, how do you compete with what Michigan has? How do you compete with what Michigan State is putting together? And here's the other thing that I'm sure a lot of people in the CHL don't want to hear, but the reality is, you look at the elite level coaches in development circles in hockey, where are they? They're in college hockey, right? I was one of the people that thought Pat Ferschweiler was going to get the Philadelphia Flyers job, and make no mistake about it, he was in consideration. We all wondered about David Carl in Chicago, and he pulled out. The list of, the Brandon Arado,
which is crazy because
Adam Nightingale in Michigan State, the level of coaching you get at college hockey right now has probably never been better. And you couple that with opportunity and resources and support and facilities.
But that's crazy, Jeff, because the junior hockey is always sold. We are the development path that is closest to the National Hockey League. And so if your coaches are being viewed as, not the top of the heap in terms of the next guys up to take NHL jobs, and your facilities are so lacking, and you are so right with regards to facilities in these Big Ten schools and elsewhere that can finance like they can.
100%.
I have been of the opinion that since all this started, I think junior hockey has completely underestimated the lure, the pull, the power of the NCAA. Like, OHL governors were talking about expansion. The WHL's about talking about going into Chilliwack. I'm like, guys, your player pool's going to dilute. In what world are you expanding?
Well, it'll change. It'll become a U19 league, a pre-draft league.
But Blake, that is a lesser product commercially than what you are currently putting on the ice with 18, 19,
hang on. One thing we all have to remember here is, too, and this is why, the Porter Martones and the Michael Misas aren't doing anything until after the draft. If you're a player that goes and gets drafted and signs an NHL contract right away, you're not going to college hockey. You can't. So this is like, Jet Lachenko last year with Guelph. He signs his Philadelphia Flyers contract. He can't go play college hockey anywhere. So there is like, and Matthew Schaefer, Islanders draft Matthew Schaefer, they sign him right away. And if he's not playing on the Islanders next year, he's going back to Erie, right? So for those like really, really top guys that are going to sign NHL contracts right away. But I do agree with the point. Like, again, that's why Dan McKenzie was saying, we're not sure how this is all going to play out. But, you're starting to see a lot of, OHL teams pull players away from the USHL. I put it this way. I do think there's a reason the CHL upped their import rule from 2 to 3.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Right,
but you're right though. If you skim the cream off the USHL, though, your talent pool isn't going down so much. If people start to bail on the USHL because the now tried and true path is pre-draft, you're in the CHL, post-draft, you're in NCAA, I think a lot of the guys that were previously staying with the Chicago Steel are now going to the CHL. At least that's what their hope is probably going to be, no?
You just saw Adam Valentini signing with Kitchener, Callum Croskery signing with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And we'll see what happens with the Europeans in the USHL. Cooper Dennis goes to Brantford. That's not one of those like, oh, the Canadian kid's just going home. Like, he's an American committed to the University of Michigan. He's going to play for the Bulldogs. So again, we don't know how. This is the first year of it. We don't know how this is. Eventually, it's going to settle into its groove, whatever it's going to be. We're just seeing the beginning of it now.
Fair enough. If I'm involved in any of the CHL leagues, I am very, very worried right now.
Oh, it's uncertain for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We're down to our Jeff Marek Easter egg.
Oh, jeez. Keep forgetting.
As always, you have Blake Price here to help you
My
along.
Lifeline.
25 Stanley Cup finals thus far this century. Yes, I'm including the year 2000. I know that's not technically in the century, so nobody put me on E's and O's. So 25 Conn Smythe trophies awarded.
Oh, jeez.
How many have goalies and defensemen accounted for? 25 Conn Smythe trophies. How many winners have been goalies or defensemen?
Goalies or defensemen?
I mean, I'm not going to get the exact number. I would just off the top of my head, I would guess 8.
I would go even lower than that. I would say 6. No, hang on. No, I'll go 7.
He Price righted me.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I did too.
that's crazy. I'll go 7.
I would have been right there with you guys.
Vasilevsky just popped into my head like, oh yeah, him too.
I would have been right there with you guys because I was driving in today going, okay, Conn Smythe candidates, defensemen, goalies. Maybe Bobrovsky? Maybe Evan Bouchard from this series? Like, I'm not even sure they're really candidates, right? I was looking at the Bet365 odds, and it's going to be one of the forwards.
Better for Florida, 97 or 29 for Edmonton.
And so I started thinking to myself, God, like defensemen, goalies, are they getting short shrift? No. Almost half, 12.
Really?
6 goalies, 6 defensemen since the year 2000. Stevens, Lidstrom, Niedermeyer, Keith, Hedman, McCarr.
Oh, yeah, Keith.
Roy.
Keith should have had 2, by the way. I thought he was 2010.
I think you're right.
Player on the ice. He's best player on the ice.
Roy, Giguère, Ward, Thomas, Quick, Vasilevsky.
It's good. So you beat me as I tried to
closest to without going over.
Closest to without going over.
Yeah.
Sadly, you were not close enough to win both showcases.
I really like that floral couch, though. I can't wait to have that in my living room.
By the way, if you haven't seen the Price is Right documentary with the guy, The Perfect Bid, the contestant who knew way too much, go seek it out.
Okay.
What's it called? The Perfect Bid?
It's called Perfect Bid, the contestant who knew too much. I believe it's on Prime.
One of the things that I love about coming on, here is I always get great documentary recommendations.
Yeah,
I'm just like every now and then, because that's it. Like I watch like hockey and I watch news and I watch documentaries.
Documentaries, yeah, that's pretty much with you. Those 3 categories.
You know what time? You know what time it is for me right now?
What?
Hotel coffee time.
Oh yes.
Hotel
It
coffee.
tastes
Is that
better.
a creamer or is that the
Boys.
cup?
That's the
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The pod.
Oh, the pod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enjoy that.
coffee pod. Thanks, boys. That's my reward. Thanks, you too.
Have fun at the Hyatt.